stupid. He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country.
Donald Trump has gone by a lot of names: entrepreneur, entertainer, and agitator. However, Robert De Niro and Stephen Colbert saw through all the branding and reduced it to an act, which is far simpler. They didn't see Trump as the fearless outsider or daring maverick he portrayed himself as. He was just the loudest person in the room, trying to convince millions of people that his useless goods was worthless. The salesman lost his spectacle after their roast revealed the illusion.
Was buddies with a pedophile. On Friday, the Wall Street Journal dropped an absolute bombshell. They are reporting that in 2003, Trump sent a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday that was sexually suggestive. Yeah, it's the most inappropriate birthday gift since Carvel debuted Fudgy the Hung Like a Whale. Now,
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute. You can't put a price on creativity, but apparently you can put a tariff on it. Of course, this is unacceptable. All these attacks are unacceptable.
Please click the bell symbol and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video. Colbert made fun of the performance as if it were an endless late-night spoof. Together, they destroyed the illusion, portraying Trump not as a titan of politics but rather as a figure so dependent on performance that he confused cheers for leadership. De Niro approached the situation with the unadulterated rage of someone who detests cheap theatrics. Colbert quickly attacked the perception of Trump as a negotiator. He presented him as a man who never really completed anything, rather than as a brilliant negotiator. Colbert made fun of Trump's record, calling it a cemetery of failing businesses wrapped in gilded lettering, from casinos that fell apart like poorly shuffled cards to universities that defrauded students with false promises. His portrayal of Trump's alleged business acumen reduced it to a smoke, mirror, and bankruptcy court magic show. Colbert contended that every assertion of accomplishment was equivalent to witnessing a man maintain that his sinking ship was a high-end cruise liner until you noticed that the passengers were already using life jackets to escape.
According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump's letter featured several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with heavy marker. In the drawing, a pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. Do you know what that means? That means Donald Trump has drawn pubic hair on every executive.
De Niro gave this image a darker undertone by attacking Trump as a threat as well as a failure. He presented Trump as a man who could not live in a room without conflict and who thrived on upheaval. De Niro saw Trump as an arsonist rather than a leader, someone who starts political fires merely to claim the hero title while standing in front of the flames. De Niro maintained that the bluster, the tweets, and the never-ending indignation cycle were characteristics of weakness rather than power. What the world perceived as authority was actually insecurity disguised with exclamation points and capital letters.
It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face. This is somebody that we want for president? I don't think so. What I care about is the direction of this country. And what I'm very, very worried about is that it might go in the wrong direction with someone like Donald Trump. If you care about your future, vote for it.
Colbert returned to the topic of Trump's fixation with his appearance. He ridiculed the fixation on crowd sizes and the incessant urge to make sure that everything was the biggest, greatest, and most exquisite. Colbert explained it as if he were a kid holding a crown made of crayons, writing the greatest thing in the world on every available surface. He emphasized that Trump's self-promotion was a sign of someone who was afraid of being forgotten rather than one of confidence. Colbert claimed that the constant boasting wasn't about accomplishments but more about frantically bridging the gap that arises when you truly have nothing to offer.
For reasons that are in terms of word.
De Niro made the same theme more difficult for himself. Trump's fixation on his image was offensive in addition to being ridiculous. Despite having a great deal of power and influence, this man spent his days worrying about magazine covers and TV ratings. As if running the nation were just another episode of a reality show, De Niro ridiculed the pettiness of a leader who gauged his value by the headlines. He likened Trump's style of leadership to directing a subpar film. Unending takes, loud explosions, and illogical narratives with the director yelling about how great he was every time he stormed onto the set. Colbert jokingly remarked that the purpose of the teleprompter was to remind him of his initial location rather than to assist him in delivering thoughts. Colbert suggested that each rally address resembled a comedy set devoid of a punchline, with the exception that Trump's audience wasn't laughing along with him. They were making fun of him.
Really worry that if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody who deludes themselves in thinking that he is, shame on you.
De Niro echoed such fervor by emphasizing Trump's theatrical demeanor. He saw every gesture, every entrance, and every wildly theatrical hand move as a component of a show. It was method acting gone wrong, according to De Niro. Trump had persuaded himself that he was a strong guy because he was acting like one. The posturing, the swagger, the frown, all of it was meaningless theatrical. Trump wasn't only misleading the public, De Niro contended. He was deceiving himself into thinking that the applause represented actual authority. Colbert resorted to the media adoration that Trump insisted on, but of a scrawny star who was unable to take criticism. He portrayed Trump as the first leader in history whose actual adversary was his detractors, who rated him 2 stars out of 5, rather than the opposition party. By highlighting the negative effects of this preoccupation, De Niro made his argument clear. Trump's obsession with show and image wasn't innocuous. There were actual expenses. Decisions were made based on what appeared to be good for the cameras rather than strategy. Policies were created with short-term applause lines in mind rather than long-term effects.
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course. But democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary. Excuse my French.
De Niro portrayed it as the height of treachery. A leader who consistently sacrificed content for spectacle, using the nation as a prop in his own performance. Colbert focused on how ironic Trump's populism was. This individual positioned himself as the advocate for common people. However, he had lived a life of luxury, wealth, and separation from the hardships faced by many Americans. As a warning, Colbert made fun of the notion that Trump was an outsider, characterizing him instead as the country club visitor who claimed to understand what life was like for the caddies. According to De Niro, Trump would be remembered as the demolisher of conventions, trust, and unity rather than as the builder he professed to be. The weight of De Niro's criticism came from a man who has witnessed innumerable Hollywood productions. He wasn't impressed either. He said that Trump's act was no longer credible. It was dangerous in its persistence, ancient, and worn out.
We're in a very bad situation. I remember you and I about 5-6 years ago talking down at the Spring Studios, something about, I said, what just happened, just happened. No, it didn't. It didn't happen. It's all about truth. And what we have here is a denial of truth all over the place. And even the speech that he made after is insane. It's just insane, and I'm very, very concerned about it. I think we all are. It's insane. So that's why I felt I had to do something, say something about it. to go on record.
Colbert and De Niro collaborated to create a demolition project that was unmatched. Trump's antics seemed like punchlines waiting to be told as Core's wit cut through the ridiculousness. Those remarks gained a severe edge from De Niro's anger, which transformed jeering into condemnation. Trump wasn't the fearless leader he portrayed himself as toward the end. He was a parody, a man ensnared in his own act, always practicing lines for a show that the audience had long left. All that was left was the indisputable fact that they both emphasized. Leadership wasn't Trump's strongest suit. Self-promotion was included. Comedy itself, according to Colbert. The reality: Trump is more of a man tweeting about cable news anchors who didn't appreciate him at 3 in the morning than a Napoleon scheming to take over the globe. Colbert portrayed him as a man who still has trouble with Connect 4 rather than as a chess player. Even yet, when things don't go his way, he cheats by taking the backseat. To show how predictable Trump has become is what really makes his roast sting. In reality, all scandals, disputes, and so-called shocks are only recycled versions of the same script. Distract, deflect, and deny. Colbert likened Trump's career to a poorly executed sitcom revival. Every season has fewer fans, yet the lines, laugh track, and cliched catchphrases remain the same. Colbert said that even his rallies are similar to cover bands performing the same old tunes, but without the crowd going crazy. In their enormous hats, they are fast asleep. De Niro, who is never one for nuance, attacked Trump's alleged toughness head-on. Strength is not a performance, and De Niro was able to dispel that misconception. He sees Trump as a man who has nothing else except bravado to hide behind.
I can finally speak unvarnished truth to power and say what I really think about Donald Trump, starting right now. I don't care for him. Doesn't seem to have like the skill set. Doesn't have the skill set to be president. Just not a good fit, that's all.
The way they depicted Trump as a parody of himself was the genius of their joint roast. His half-finished statements that ramble into nothing before returning to the same worn-out boasting were mocked by Colbert. Colbert compared it to seeing a GPS that only contains 2 locations, Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago, and still gets lost when traveling. By highlighting Trump's body language, exaggerated hand gestures, puffed chest, less dominating presence, and more jittery magicianry in an attempt to divert attention from the fact that the trick isn't working, De Niro added insult to injury. And both Colbert and De Niro jumped in when the topic shifted to Trump's fixation with loyalty. They contended that Trump expects allegiance to himself rather than to a nation or set of values. It was a portrayal of weakness disguising itself as strength. A man who is so insecure that making others clap harder is the foundation of his entire empire of power.
Oh, that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go f yourself.
Colbert really enjoyed making fun of Trump's propensity to live in a fantasy world. He denied matters captured on tape and even claimed to have won elections that he lost. According to Colbert, Trump is more of a walking conspiracy theorist with a spray tan than a politician. He feeds on spreading a persistent mist of misunderstanding where facts perish rather than on the truth. Colbert made fun of this by speculating on a scenario in which half of Trump's supporters would stand by him if he said that the sun rises in the west. The wrong horizon, with sunglasses on. The joke struck a deep chord because it exposed Trump's culture of denial as well as his fantasy. De Niro, however, focused most of his criticism on Trump's character, or lack thereof. He attacked Trump as a man who gauges success by social media followers and opulent fixtures rather than morality or decency. De Niro believes that Trump's legacy consists of a string of litigation, bankruptcies, and destroyed bridges rather than riches or leadership. Core's quips made the strikes land harder after softening them. De Niro became so enraged that the ridiculousness became indisputable. They collaborated to create a demolition job that not only tore down Trump's reputation but also brought down the whole mythology that had been created around him. Trump wasn't revealed as a tragic figure or a misunderstood genius. He was exposed as a carnival barker whose show had gone far beyond the point of amusement, a salesman who sold America an empty product, and more.